Hello, hello. Um, welcome. So, very interesting day today. Funny day. Um, went for my walk. Was having a lot of new insights that I also want to share here. Reflect a bit on that. But interestingly, then also right around the end of my walk, I was starting to feel it in my stomach. Much more actually my solar plexus, I guess. But it's actually walking the talk being these new insights and stuff like that. So I feel like I went through a full experience, firstly getting some kind of insights on what is actually happening or things like that, and then living it, experiencing it, feeling it. Was quite intense and painful actually. But so let's dive into it. um, I was thinking a lot about how life can be seen as all these kind of webs, seeing them as spider webs. All these kind of webs that are made from these strings, they're like woven by our thoughts, our beliefs, culture. Takes on different levels, I guess. We certainly have like a big societal kind of a web, a net. It's also very interesting. It connects beautifully with a safety net. But so also individually or environments themselves, they all have their own kind of web, their own belief system, their own thoughts, culture within culture. So there are all these different layers of webs, and so it got me thinking about how we can. Well, the energy was a lot about how can we actually truly take charge of our own life, become free. Well, and that's how I got thinking about these webs and how we often I certainly have these experiences where suddenly it's like somehow I got caught in this kind of a web. Suddenly start to realize this, and it's like this is not fully my kind of web or what got caught into it, but it can come with some kind of a feeling of feeling trapped. It's interesting to think about this also, like something that is trapped inside of the spider web. But my mind seems to want to go to the safety first as well. As I said, safety net. It's interesting how I would say, as a society or as a community, a culture or something, seeing it as a series or this construct, this web of all these thoughts, the thought forms, the ways of thinking, people usually find safety within that. And what is then interesting is a lot of the individuals on that web, well, they move along those lines. They're limited in their own thinking by this web, the structure of the web, often also believing what the whole web structure is sort of believing. We can certainly see this in our society. There is like a main sort of a belief that is taught onto most people. through schools, all sorts of systems, but also just the individuals amongst each other. We sort of reinforce that with each other a lot as well. That got me thinking there is a difference how not everyone feels actually trapped in this. Um, a lot of people experience freedom in the web as it is now. That got me thinking about my own experiences through like years of reflection and also feeling something within me, or well, usually I guess traumatic experiences got me reflecting a whole lot, and then started to look at this kind of a web as well, or our societal structure and things like that, and I started to realize, or its thinking was actually also limiting me. So I was bouncing up on those limits, wanted to go beyond that, but I started to realize this kind of web society seems to be living in is more like a web of illusion, a web of lies. And the thing is, when we start to see it as illusion or lies, that usually comes with a feeling of, well, trapped or not wanting to be there. So we can move away from that, but well, that got me thinking about these kind of experiences, which I certainly have also experienced, I think, a couple of times at least. But when we leave this web behind, then we are like, this way of thinking, I see how it is lie in a way. It's illusionary. So I want also coming from a deeper desire for seeing truth, something we can actually work with, has a different, more solid structure. Letting go of that web, letting go of your safety net. But it can certainly be experienced as literally the ground underneath your feet falling away, and then feeling as if you are in free fall or also flying. I think I experience it myself a lot often also as finally free from this web. Now I can think more in different ways. Now I can start finally breathe. Now I can finally um, think more freely. I'm not so constricted by this web. But this experience in itself, you can go quite crazy from this when you lose your sense of safety. So it's always very important to find safety, I guess, somewhere else. I would say I found that within myself a lot. It's also as we experience this thing of the ground underneath our feet falling away, and it feels as if we're in free fall or flying, to not step into that spiral of panic and like take a breath, chill out, and see that even though it feels like I'm going completely nuts or feeling like where do I actually stand, thing is we can grow more comfortable in, I don't necessarily have to know where I stand, but when I look at my feet I see I'm standing on the ground. It's also this reminds me of my point of reference before was, where am I standing inside of this web of lies? This is a lie anyway. This is a lie anyways. So in a way, I never really knew where I was standing. I just held on to a certain belief which gave me safety. So to let go of that is quite something. And then it's usually, I guess, a transition phase of, well, I don't actually know, but at least I'm not living that lie. We can find some kind of comfort in that and really calm down. No need to panic. But so it also got me thinking back to this web, the spider, the weaver. Well, we can learn to weave our own web, construct, choose our own. It actually ties in for me a lot, maybe some Nietzsche philosophy, questioning these values culture gives you, questioning these beliefs, questioning our own thinking maybe also, but really from there starting to build our own culture, our own values, and choosing them, things that actually truly serve us and are able to provide us a real structure. Seeing that as how we are then actually, it's interesting because in a way the spider is also freely flying around, or like he comes down on his string that he made himself, and from there he can like create a web, his own web. I feel that certainly connects with us becoming a leader of our own life, taking our own life in charge, truly being free as well, where we can then put our web where we want. It's also then interesting to think about, well, we can do this temporarily, to not grow attached to this new web. In some way, we attach to it temporarily, it becomes our new safety web, but it doesn't have to end there. We can, after a while, we can also see, well, maybe this new web that I made is also illusion. It's just the next level. Time to let that go. I'm going beyond. And then we can, just like a spider, you make a web somewhere else. Now it also made me think in nature, in native culture. They talk about the great mother, the weaver of the universe. I feel that actually can be something in which we can also really find our own safety net. To me, that great mother, the weaver of the universe, it's interesting. I was thinking about this because in some way we can certainly feel like we are all caught in this web of the universe, whether we are aware of it or not. And I say caught doesn't necessarily have to be a trapped thing, but I feel it refers to there is this universal structure, this web, universal truth, which we cannot escape. Well, we may be able to escape it, but then you have to go beyond that kind of level of the Great Mother, and I don't think we as humans should be going for that right now because it's a bit far out. But either way, we can certainly now find safety within that web of the Great Mother. There is also a nurturing feeling to that, actually. It's like the spiders take care of those who are in their web. Weird dynamics because, well, some spiders like to keep people entangled inside of their web. So it's that nurturing thing is a bit weird. But either way, the Great Mother with its universal truths, universal structure, I think also like if we look at the Hermetic principles, those can start to give us some insight on what it actually looks like. But there seem to be these universal laws which none of us can really escape. Well, I'll phrase it as I don't think we actually want to escape this right now, or that is wise to not want it. I think a lot of people may actually want to escape it, or are behaving as trying to run away from the consequences of their actions, things like that. But I've certainly found a lot of safety within this because it's also giving us structure. It's giving us, I'm happy that there are these kind of rules in the universe that actually everyone has to abide by in this universe. So from there we can work. It it's an interesting dynamic as well with the freedom, and true freedom can only be experienced when we do have limits, when we do have limitation. Otherwise we just have complete nonsense, complete chaos, complete nothing is going anywhere. And that's not freedom at all. That is really going crazy. But so to have, then we have a, I would say, beautiful structure. It also feels free to me. I don't feel like I'm caught, but I've certainly grown in this. I think parts of my journey I might have felt more trapped by this. When you feel karma being more pressing on us or something like that, maybe more tendencies of trying to run away from these things. But now, having dealt with these things and made peace with them, and then we can actually start to feel free on this. I actually also started to feel this gentle sensation as I was walking, really as if you are a spider that is moving on the web. It's also being able to move on the web is different than really being trapped or caught in the web itself. We have to find a certain freedom to be able to move around on the web itself, become more like that spider itself. Feel also like aligning more in, or thinking back again about me becoming my own spider of my own life, creating my own web of life. Doing that in a way, co-creating it with this great mother, aligning with those values, those beliefs, those truths, those universal truths, and from there it feels. It's interesting because my mind is now going to, well, but we are a spider as well. In some way, we are maybe also creating a web that can trap others, that can, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Well, there is. It's not always a bad thing to trap others necessarily either, but let's not get carried away too much here. So, to my own experience today as well, the more truly embodying this, feel this was all tying up with me being a point in my life again where I realized like, oh, I got caught up in some web that I actually don't feel at home at, or something like that. It's like I don't truly belong here. Why do I feel this entanglement here? And finding the freedom to step away outside of that net, to remove myself from that. Maybe that also makes me think about why do we want to be in a certain web. because a lot of it also happens unconsciously, I guess, or getting entangled. Certainly, I recognize as we become more conscious, we can move more consciously throughout life and not get entangled as much, or become more conscious about whether we are becoming entangled or not. Just like on my walks, how start to see the spider webs more after having walked through them quite a lot, and then always having the sticky mess on my face or whatever. But now when I see them, I can. Uh, the thing when I see them, I can more consciously choose to, well, I'm just gonna walk around them or something like that. Same with people becoming consciously aware of their web, their beliefs, their thoughts, and it's like being able to see that maybe in a free way. I can even like jump in that environment and move around a little. Things can also get a bit spooky for them when they suddenly realize my freedom of movement, or when they try to unconsciously, maybe consciously, try to trap me in that web or something, and then I just remove myself from it. The thing is, what that usually also does to that whole web is it destroys it in some way. It reveals that, or it certainly touches that feeling of security within themselves. Their safety might be triggered when someone is just because, well, someone is questioning their beliefs, someone is not uh, following their beliefs upon which they base their safety on. And so this can be an interesting dynamic. It doesn't necessarily have to be threat, but it also makes me think about sometimes how people want to keep you trapped in them for their own protection or something like that, or maybe even want to numb you, so you, just like how spiders come and numb you, so you are there, sit nice and tight in that little comfortable spot on the web. Don't move around too much. But so again, my own experience, me now removing me from some web of entanglement, was a quite painful experience. Felt it a lot in my solar plexus, really, and but at the same time, it felt like really um, taking my power back from that web and truly becoming free here within myself and stepping up as that leader. It was also a very interesting experience how I started off lying on the floor, crawling a bit, maybe but eventually following that relaxing feeling, or like what position actually feels comfortable, it made me completely stand up, standing in my power like that. And so I feel a lot better now. I feel like I've gone through it, being able to eat already. So now reflecting on this. So I'm gonna leave it here for now. Feels like this is something we can maybe build on again in the future, but for now, some insights. Have a good one.